Welcome to the first official podcast of Ladies on the Line. I'm Tanya Galantine, and this is my co-host, Katelyn Boardwell.
Hi, today we're going to take you through an episode all about us. Get to know us, our setups, our goals, our paths in archery, and how we are here. To start off, we would like to talk to you about how we got started into archery. So, Tanya, do you want to talk about yours?
Yeah, so I started archery. How old was I? I think I was 13, which is old for a lot of people. I know a lot of people started when they were little kids and they started with their family. You started when you were pretty young, didn't you?
Yeah, so I was the only three. My family owns an archery shop that we grew up in, Legends of Fall. It's actually kind of a funny story. My mom was sick that day, and my dad had to watch me. So he was like, okay, here's like a stick and string and arrows, and just have fun shooting at these targets. And that's how
Oh,
I
that's
got
cute.
going. Yeah, yeah,
I love that.
yeah. So we introduced you to yours.
So it was a field trip in school. We went to one of those, it was like a town that lived back in the, I don't know, 1800s or whatever. And they had like a little bow and arrow or whatever. This was how you hunted back then, this was how you got food. And I was like, kind of fun. And I found the closest local club I could find. And it just kind of started from there, I went with one of my friends and we both got super hooked from the get-go. And I actually started with a recurve for a couple months. And I was like, I like this recurve. This is cool. And I think 2 or 3 months in, my coach came over with this compound and he's like, you should try this. I looked at it and I was like, no, that looks really weird. Why are there 3 strings on it? What are those wheels on the ends? Like I don't even know which string to pull. I was like, nope, I'm good. And I didn't touch it. And a couple of months later, he did it again. He's like, you should try this. And I was like, okay, just let me try it. I'll shoot it one time. And I pulled it back and I shot it. And I just felt like the force from a compound compared to a recurve. And I was like, okay, that's it. I can never not shoot a compound now. It was an easy choice.
So how long were you shooting the recurve before you went to the compound?
What was it, maybe 5, 6 months?
Okay.
So it wasn't super long. It was just, I was still getting into the sport and figuring everything out, and I didn't know anything. It was just, yeah, just a short time. And then I was like, nope, compound, that's gotta be.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
about you? What did you start with?
So I was with it like a makeshift bow that my dad made for us when we were little kids. I mean, they don't have the bows they do now for little kids. I feel like back then, my nephews have this cute little recurve that's so cute. But like he literally
Yes,
made a
they
bow
do.
out of like a stick and a string and his old arrows, and I was doing that. And I am left-handed. So they started me out left-handed. But every
Good
time I
thing.
would pick it, yeah, every time I would pick it up, like I would just instinctively go to right-handed.
It's weird.
Yeah, so they did. And they kept thinking like I was a huge daddy's girl. And like they would do eye tests with me and they would think that I was trying to be right-handed like my dad, because that's what he did. So they're like, you're left-handed. And I'm like, no, like I'm not. And finally, like after they did more and more eye tests, they're like, okay, yeah, she's left eye dominant. Or sorry, right eye dominant. Um,
That's crazy. So were you really supposed to be right-handed and you just ended up left-handed, or
so I
how does
think
that?
that I think I'm actually, it's weird though. I do a lot of stuff differently. Like I'll throw a ball left-handed.
Hmm.
And like for like I played lacrosse a little bit and like softball and stuff, all of that stuff I did right-handed. But like I said, throwing a ball, writing left-handed, eating left-handed, but then certain things I just go to right. So yeah, I'm kind of yeah, all over the
I
place.
mean, you made your life so much easier by being right-handed for archery. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
probably for the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Once in a while, all for fun. My mom is right-handed, but she's left-eye dominant, actually.
It's so weird.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like we'll have people that come in the shop that majority of the time everyone's, the eye dominancy that they write with. But we'll have a
Hmm.
handful of people here and there. It's typically a right-handed person will be left eye dominant. It's not very often we'll have a left-handed person be right eye. So I'm
No,
just this
I
oddball.
don't think I've. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, we
that's
finally figured
crazy.
out I'm left eye dominant. And then I had like we started out like they're like they have little recurves, but they've got like little wheels on them still. I don't know if you can
Yeah,
think of what I'm talking about.
yeah, I remember them.
Yeah, so I started out with those after I moved out of the makeshift bow. And then when I turned 5, I got my first compound. I loved it. It was a little Bowtech rascal. It was purple with black sparkly limbs and green lip
That's
pockets. Yeah, I
oh.
love that thing. Yeah, I actually still have it. That's like one of the only bows like I kept. Like this is staying with me. Yeah, that's kind of how I got into shooting. And then like we have, like I said, I grew up in the shop. So I pretty much that's what I did after school. My parents were running the shop. It was still so the shop started in 1996. I was born in 98. So the shop was still young at the time when I was young. So, my parents were putting
Hmm.
all of their effort into the shop and growing this business. So we pretty much spent like all of our free time. We were there, we were just shooting, and it was fun for us. We were never forced to. It was, yeah.
And for the people out there who don't know, what is the name of your shop and where is it?
It's Legends of Fall Outfitters in Tully, New York.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. They would be mad at me if I never said it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's funny because you mentioned getting your first bow, and I think I shot for maybe a year or so, and I got a bow, and I didn't know it at the time because I was still new in archery, and it was just somebody's used bow. But it was actually Stefan Hansen's bow, and I think I bought like 2 or 3 of Stefan Hansen's old bows, so he kind of fit. Whenever he grew out of a bow, I just got tall enough to use his old bow, so that's kind of how I grew up, just always shooting his leftover bows.
That's funny. Yeah, I think I did get one hand-me-down bow. I have two older brothers. One of them still shoots with me. But I would get a couple of his hand-me-down bows. But luckily,
Mhm.
I was the little princess. I was a little spoiled, the youngest
Oh,
and only girl. Yeah, I got a few of my own too.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So what made you end up picking compound and not recurve or bare bow or any of the other types?
Be honest, like I know, like I was so young, so I don't remember exactly. But I
Hmm.
do one, like I think I already mentioned, like I wanted to do whatever my dad was doing, and they were all shooting compound. And I think in my
Hmm.
head, like that's what good shooters shoot. And I didn't really even know. I mean, I grew up in the shop, but like the shop was very tailored towards bow hunting. So I didn't really know this whole target archery world. I didn't really know that there was a recurve target side or a compound target side.
Hmm.
Like in my head, when you grow up, you shoot a compound bow. Like that's all I really knew. So it wasn't really like a choice I made. It was more of an exciting, like, oh, I'm a big girl now. I get a big girl bow. Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. So how old were you when you realized you wanted to compete? Or was that also something that kind of came with it being such a big part of your family? Like when did you start competing?
Yeah, so my dad didn't compete growing up. He started shooting when he was older, and and he kind of started working on his bows and his buddies' bows, and that's how he kind of opened up the shop. And like I said, it was more
Hmm.
geared towards bow hunting at the time. But then us kids started shooting, and he started bringing us to little local shoots, one to help promote the shop and get to know people, and like for the fun for
Hmm.
us. And we did our local shoots, we do the state shoots, and then when I was 12, my brothers were doing really well, and my dad wanted to take them to indoor nationals. And I was like, well, I want to go too. And they were like, okay, where are you going? So they'll take me along. So I went.
Okay, you get to go.
Yeah, yeah, I slept on the couch, but it was fine. I was there. But I remember that was my first national shoot, and I remember like I was used to the small state shoots, and I remember walking in like this shoot had like such a big like moment in archery for me, but it was just like wow, like this place is huge. There's so many shooters and all of this, and I ended up actually winning. Which, like I said, they just brought me along, and my dad was like, "Oh my gosh, we didn't know this was gonna happen." But I won, and like it was just, in my head as a little kid, I'm like, and this was when I was 12 at the time. It was my
Hmm.
first big national shoot.
Wow.
And it was just like, wow, this is cool. It was such that like adrenaline rush. And like at that shoot was the shoot where I kind of made the decision, like, I want to do this. I want to keep doing this.
That's
Yeah.
really cool. And
Yeah.
it's funny you say that because I think I had sort of a similar experience. To get a little background story. I swam for 11 years. In the last couple of years I did. Now I wasn't very fast or good or anything, but I did compete a little bit and I hated it because I got so nervous and, I kind of sucked, so I didn't make it on the podium or anything. And I was like, I'm not having fun. And then I started archery, and my coach was like, "You should go to this archery event, go to this competition and shoot." I'm like, I really don't know. I don't like competitions. And I went to the event, and I was pretty young. I went to it, and I ended up winning. Now, there was only two people in the class. It was me and my best friend, and I got first, and she got second. So it wasn't like we were competing against anybody else, but I ended up winning. And even though there was no one else, I was like, whoa, okay, this is actually really cool. I want to do more of this.
Mhm.
It's funny how one positive experience can change your whole outcome and feeling about, that so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I think and for like a lot of kids that are like listening and stuff, and parents mainly too, like the
Hmm.
big thing when with young archers is like to make it fun, like to not force it.
Yes.
Like this is fun. This isn't, I mean, as a kid, I probably didn't practice that much, but I wasn't forced to, and I
No,
practiced because,
no.
yeah, like I wanted to
I
do it. When
think
I was shot, I wanted to.
I think and what you just said is so important. Make it fun. The first many years that I shot, sometimes I would go to archery and I'm not even sure I'd touch my bow because I'd get there and I'd hang out with my friends and I'd maybe shoot a couple arrows sometimes, but a lot of it was the social stuff that made me come back. Because when you're that age, at least for me, I was a teenager. If you're not having fun or enjoying the people you're shooting with, it kind of ruins the whole thing for you. And
Yeah.
so whether you're 5 or 15, it has to be fun.
Yeah, exactly. Once it's not fun anymore. I
Yeah,
mean, I know so many kids that I used to shoot with that don't shoot anymore. That I grew up shooting. I don't just like they weren't having fun anymore.
I know. And there are obviously going to be times where it's not always going to be fun. Sometimes if you want to get to the next step, if, you know, practice is going to suck every once in a while, but
Yeah, yeah,
majority, majority should be fun.
yeah. I think you need to fall in love with it first before you get to that. I'm willing to practice as hard as I can to get to that
I
next
think so.
level. Yeah.
I think so. And so I want to hear a little bit about your first pro event and what made you want to go pro and like how that whole came about.
Yeah. So I think going pro in archery is like a lot different than any other sport. I mean, you spend
Yes,
the
I think so.
money. Yeah. You spend the money. You're in the pro class.
Hmm.
I think, see, for me, going pro in the indoor shoots was different than going pro in the 3D competitions. I think for the indoor shoots, I started doing pro a lot earlier.
I think a lot of people do that just because I'm not sure why, but maybe it feels easier I don't.
Yeah, I think it's almost like, I mean, I feel like the scores aren't exactly the same, but they're so close to each other, the amateur versus the pro, that it's like, if you're already shooting these scores, why not just do it in the pro class and you get the experience and meet the other pro shooters and kind of learn from them?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think 3D growing up, I was a bit more, I know I was a lot more competitive in 3D. And for me, competition in 3D is a little bit more of a stepping stone progress. So to
I
be
I
completely
will
honest,
definitely agree with you there.
yeah, yeah. So like for the indoor stuff, like I honestly, I feel like maybe my first one was at Vegas, but I'm not even 100% sure. Like I kind of just
Mm.
did it. Like, yeah, I'm old enough to just do it.
It's time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. For the 3D, it was more like, okay, I'm winning at this level. Let's go up to the next level and win at this level, which
Hmm.
I think probably should have done it the same way for indoor, what I did for 3D, but that's, it's too late. Hindsight's 2020 is what they say.
It's
Um,
okay.
yeah, yeah. But I do really vividly remember my first professional 3D shoot, which that was a ASA shoot. And at the time, I was judging yardage for 3D.
Mm.
And it was so scary because, like, when you're judging yardage, not only can you have a bad shot, but you can judge so bad that you miss the entire target with a good shot.
I know, and that scares me so much. Like
Yeah,
I'm not sure I could do that.
yeah, like the entire day. I was so excited that I didn't miss any targets like the entire time. I'm just thinking like,
I mean,
please,
I'd be pretty happy too with that.
yeah. But I think it is funny, like the pressure feeling back then versus, I mean, there's still a lot of pressure I feel now, but the comfortability of like, okay, I know my abilities and I know I can do things. Where back then it was like I felt like I had to prove myself and like, show that because I think, like I said before, anyone can pay to be a pro, but like to actually feel like you deserve to be there and like if you are good enough like to call yourself a pro, like I don't, at the beginning that was a big pressure, like am I supposed to be here?
I could,
Yeah,
I could see that being like, okay, one thing is signing up for it, but I want to show on miles. You know, fit in, kind of.
yeah. When was, so like kind of the same question for you, like what was your first pro shoot and like what was your determining to get there?
So yeah, I mean, archery in Europe works a little bit different because it's such a small sport there, and you don't have pro divisions at events. You just have your age, and it doesn't matter if if indoors you're a 550 shooter or if you're a 595 plus shooter, you're in the same class, and it's just how it is. So whenever I shot the ones in Denmark, I just shoot those, and it wasn't until I was 15, um, I went to this archery summer camp and there was a bunch of other people and it was just supposed to be something fun to do for the summer. And at this summer camp, we had Martin Danspo. Some of you may have heard of him. Martin Danspo came and talked about what it was like being on the national team, traveling with archery and for your country and all these things. And I thought it sounded like the coolest thing ever. So I was like, I want to do that. I don't know how I'll get there, and I'm not good enough right now, but that's what I want to do. And I think that was early summer, like just the beginning of summer break. And I came home from that summer camp. And every morning when my parents would drive to work, they would drop me off at the archery range at 6 or 7 in the morning. I would shoot all day. And then on the way home from work, they'd come get me. And I would just be at the range all day because I'm like, I want to be on the national team. End of that summer. So what? I did it for a couple months. And then that summer we had nationals in Denmark and I shot really amazing and I set new Danish national records and they invited me on to my first international trip with the Danish national team. And that was kind of when it all started. And I went on my first national trip and, representing Denmark. And I was like, okay, this is still the coolest thing I've ever done. I love this. I want to do more of it. And I don't know if a lot of people know this, but so right after I went on that first trip, I had already several months in advance booked an exchange year. So I moved from Denmark to Vermont for a full year. And I lived in the middle of nowhere, Vermont, like up by the Canadian border. And there was no archery. There was nowhere to shoot or anything. So I didn't shoot my bow for a full year. I just did small country living. And I came home and I'm like, I kind of miss archery and I kind of miss the people that I met in the sport. And so I picked my bow back up and shot again. And luckily, it didn't take me very long to kind of get good enough that I was invited to the national team in Denmark, the youth one. They do a lot of meets where everybody on the team meets up and they practice together and they just talk and exchange insight and knowledge and stuff. And they invited me to that pretty early on, and I got to go on a trip that coming indoor season, I think. And since then, it hasn't really slowed down. It just kind of
So was
going
there
more
like,
and more.
was there ever a point where like, so like the schooling system in Denmark is obviously different than like in
Hmm.
the States.
Yes.
But there was ever a point where like you were debating like, do I do this as a career or is there a different career in mind? Or like you said, like it just kept on snowballing. Like was there you have to make this decision or
Yes, I definitely did. I did have, 0 to 9th grade is all in the same school, and that's kind of, you have to do it kind of like high school in here. And
Mhm.
then after that, you can choose to go on to, it's called a gymnasium, which is I know that means something different for you guys, but in Denmark, it's a 3-year school. that kind of adds on, and it's more, you kind of choose like a specialty, but not really. You don't get a title or anything. And I went and did that and finished my degree or whatever you call it. And I was still shooting for the national team, practicing outside of school, trying to figure all that out, with school, going on trips here and there whenever I could fit them in and whenever I had money for it, because I paid for all of this myself. And, so I couldn't just go on every single trip. It was, okay. I had a job on the side too. So it was trying to put aside money as much as I could to pay for these trips. Anyway, I got done with school and I got a job. Actually, I was an assistant for a chiropractor and I loved that job. It was amazing. I worked there for 2 years and I was like, okay, I'm still in the same spot that I was with archery, 2 or 3 years ago. Like, I'm okay at it, but I'm not really amazing. So I kind of have to figure out, I want to keep doing archery at this level or do I want full-time job? Because I was only working half-time so I could practice on the side and see if archery led anywhere. And I was like, okay, well, I haven't really gotten anywhere like special with archery. So I applied for college, applied to be physical therapist. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I applied, and then like a month later, I won indoor Neem World Cup, and then I won Vegas, and then I won the indoor World Cup final. And 2 weeks later, I was told that I got into college, and I was like, okay, do I accept college or do I go pro? And it was literally because I knew I could do both of it. So I sat there and I was like, I either do school or I put it off for a little bit and I do pro. And I picked
Yeah.
pro, and here we are, what, 10 years later, and I still haven't gone to school yet.
Well, luckily you've done well with archery. So I think,
Yeah. It's just crazy how that turns out, I was pretty close to not going for it and being like, okay, I might have to, this might be my dream, but I might not be able to do anything about it. Like I might have to find something else.
yeah,
And it just kind of happened.
yeah, it is, I think, scary for, so I have another job aside from archery. I do marketing stuff and I
Hmm.
went to school for that. And picking that option was because I knew it's something I can do remotely, so I can still shoot. That's
Yeah.
the main reason I went with it. But for someone like you that, that's your main source, like that is scary because it's not, another job, a 9 to 5 job, like no matter what, you're gonna get paid.
Yes.
And like you said before, I mean, you have sponsorship stuff now, but you are paying your way at the beginning a lot of times to get there, which archery is expensive. It's not cheap.
It is. It is. And I think in the beginning when you're starting out, I went I went pro because I won those events, so I had enough starting money to go to other events. Because back then I lived in Denmark, so traveling to all these events, I had to go from, you know, Europe to the US every time. And it's pretty expensive and it's a long way to travel and it just takes a lot of time and money that you have to account for and yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So any kids out there that parents are bringing them to shoots, thank them so much because it is not cheap.
Yes.
Yeah,
No, it is not.
no.
Archery is not a team sport, but yeah, we know that.
Yeah. So after you went pro, what was your first win?
After I went pro, let's see. It's funny, I don't remember. It must have been because I won those three big events and then I went pro or kind of like, I hadn't just like I shot in the pro event or pro divisions obviously, but I hadn't decided to go pro.
Okay.
So after
So like
those,
was Means the first pro division win?
yes,
Okay,
it
okay,
was. Yes.
okay.
Yeah. Nîmes, then Vegas, and the indoor World Cup final all was in the span of like 2 or 3 weeks.
Wow. Did like
Yeah.
one of those wins stand out or like they all feel the same or
It'll always be Vegas. The other
yeah.
two were big and I still remember them vividly. And I have some funny stories from some of them that we'll touch upon in other podcasts. But Vegas will always be my, the number one win that I remember just because I think even growing up in Denmark or so far away, in this sport, all you hear about is Vegas, Vegas this, Vegas that. It's such a big, important event.
Yeah.
And so I even, that was only my second time in Vegas. I'd gone the year before and I shot really well. I think I ended up fourth or something, if I remember correctly. And I shot an 8 on the last day and still ended up fourth because I was just so nervous. I was like, oh, yeah.
I think
It was
Vegas
just,
too, like you were saying, like that everyone talks about it. Like, and I don't think you know it until you've shot it. The feeling of Vegas is a complete different feeling than any other
yes.
shoot. And the only reason it is because we have created that like thing around Vegas where Vegas is Vegas.
Yes. And I think that's what's so crazy about it, is if you're able to in your mind, make it smaller, Vegas might be easier. But for some reason in most of our heads, Vegas is this big, huge thing that just is so important. Yeah. I don't
Yeah. It's so hard to describe unless like you've actually experienced it, I feel like.
yes,
Yeah.
it really is. I think it's one of those events, no matter if you shoot the flights or the pro division or whatever, you should try to go to that event just once in your life if you like doing archery. There's so much to it that you can't explain unless you go to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So
hmm
what tournaments are you doing this year?
This year, so obviously my calendar, this year and all the coming years look a little different than they used to. I now have my son Thor, who's almost a year and a half, and he's a ball of energy. But before him, I used to love going to events. I would go to all of them because I was like, I just want to shoot my bow and I just want to travel to everything. So I did Iowa, I did Hoosier Pro-Am, whatever else was there. If there were local ones, I would do that. Um, but I've had to cut some of those out because traveling with a toddler and finding babysitters and everything can be a little difficult sometimes. So we haven't done any events here in December that we normally do. Um, we did 2 events over in Europe in November. We did GT Open, which is one of the indoor World Cups to try to get points for the final. And then we also did Kings of Archery, which you've never been to.
No, I have actually never been. The only out of the country I've ever been to is South Africa, Canada, and Mexico. So the whole Europe thing is
I mean,
still,
those are 2 very cool countries, but I think next year we gotta get you to.
yeah, I think I do need to.
Yep. Yeah, we did Kings of Archery, which is a really, really cool shoot, and it's Vegas scoring, and you know, so it's exactly the same. You just shoot 60 arrows the first day and then 30 the next day, so it's a lot faster. Mm. And we always love going to that one. There's a bunch of vendors, and it's a pretty big event.
I've
But
seen like the
coming up,
marketing for it. Sorry, I've seen
yes,
like the marketing for it, and it does look pretty cool. Like they
it
make it
is. It
very,
is. I will say, if Bruce is listening, there's a couple cool things about JVD archery that could be really cool to add to Vegas. That would just make it just like a tiny bit cooler.
yeah, yeah. It seems very, I don't know if I want to use the word high end, but just like the lighting and the music and everything they do, just from what I've seen on Facebook or
It
Instagram,
really is.
whatever.
And JVD and Sander and the guys behind it are really good at that stuff. Like they understand what creates like that feeling. Even when you're in the audience, you're sitting there and you're getting all nervous, even though maybe you don't know the people that are shooting, the music and everything. They're really good at building it up and
Yeah.
getting excited. But yeah, where was I coming from? Indoor season. Yeah. Well, we're gonna do Rushmore Rumble and the ATA show, they put it together this coming year. So I don't know, I'm really interested to see how crazy it's gonna be because it's gonna be half ATA show, half Rushmore Rumble. And is it gonna be totally packed with people the whole time, or is it, I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Um,
I'm looking at attendance for Rushmore Rumble. It looks like it's going up from what it was last year when
yeah,
I went and looked. Yeah, so I think it's a good
it
thing
is.
for it.
I haven't even signed up yet. I should
I
probably get
haven't
on
either.
that.
Yeah, yeah. I think the deadline's coming soon for early bird. So.
Yeah, if we'll say this, if there is a late fee, I usually end up paying it because I'm very bad at signing up on time.
I actually showed up to Vegas one year and I went to like sign in and they're like, if you never register. And I was like,
Oh my God, that's funny. That
yeah.
happened to Braden one year too, and I was like, "Why did you forget to register?" And he's like, "I don't know."
Like there's so much. I registered for so many at one time. I'm like, I just forgot.
Luckily,
Yeah.
NFA is like the one event where you can just sign up when you get there. Had it been anything else, they would have been like, "Well, sucks to suck. You
Yeah.
just."
Here's my late fee. You can take my money.
Yep. It's like, please let me sign up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then obviously, the big ones, Lancaster, Vegas, which is all the way in March. Which I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if
March is
I
gonna be
loved,
busy.
yes, but
Yeah.
I we're gonna have two ASAs before Vegas.
Yeah.
I loved having Vegas in early February and we could get it done with and then focus on outdoor. And now you have
Yes.
to have like two completely different bow setups and
Well,
it'll be
there's
interesting.
there's an ASA the weekend before. So we literally will be going from an ASA to Vegas. Normally
I
before
know.
Vegas, I feel like because we put so much pressure on it, we want to be able to just focus and practice with Vegas. But it's gonna be like we're
Yeah.
shooting 3D and then all of a sudden 2 days later we need to turn it into indoor mode.
I know. And it's probably gonna give me a little bit of anxiety because for Vegas, I like to shoot a lot of arrows. Just still quality arrows, but I like to up it a little bit more so that I'm confident that I put everything into it that I can. And when I practice 3D, it's so hard to get the same amount of arrows in. Like you know, when we go to 3D events, even if I spend 8 hours on the range, I will have shot maybe 50 arrows. Like it's so
Yeah,
hard because you spend so much time going back and forth and moving your sight and changing this and that. It's just, and I don't. It's gonna give me anxiety not knowing if I can get the same amount of practice because 3D is right before.
yeah. No, yeah, I'm already nervous about it too. Like I don't like that.
Yeah. No. Yeah, we'll see. But I'm assuming you're also going to all the big ones.
Yeah, yeah. I think that all of them that you mentioned that you're gonna be going to,
Hmm.
I'll be going to as well.
Are you gonna try to do any indoor World Cups this coming season?
So no, so the plan is for me, I just added on youth stats last year and I'm still continuing with that.
Hmm.
I feel like I'm very much, as far as anyone knows me, I'm a 3D shooter and I'm trying to expand that. So like right now my focus is still doing good with the 3D and trying to like up the level on that. And then my
Hmm.
indoor and progressing in indoor and then adding on the use stats. So that's kind of where my main focus is right now. I don't want to branch out too much at one time because it's going to be a lot. I already like wrote down my calendar for this year and I'm like, yeah, like this is compared to 2 or 3 years ago, like this is quite a bit more that I'm just still like getting used to. But
I get that. There's no reason to tire yourself out too soon.
yeah,
So, yeah, that's pretty much indoor season, the big events, NFA, Indoor Nationals, you're going to
yeah,
as well?
yeah, yeah. So I think that it's
Yeah.
like, I'm trying to remember exactly. I feel like we have a 3D shoot, like an ASA, and this might be wrong, but I feel like it's the ASA a week off, Indoor Nationals a week off, then AS in Vegas. I think is
Let me
how
see,
it
because
is.
I have a calendar. I
Yeah,
think
I
with
just remember
most
when
of
I
them
wrote,
on.
yeah, I remember when I wrote it down, I was looking at it, I was like, wow, like that's, and I think the hard part is that it's different styles of archery. We're moving from one to the other. Like if they were all the same style, like, oh, those would be a lot easier. But
Yes.
yeah, going
Yeah.
back and forth is,
It's as far as I can tell, it's ASA, NFA Indoor Nationals, ASA Vegas.
yeah,
So it's it'll be a lot of going back and forth and all those things. But
yeah.
yeah. For outdoor season, are you planning to do all the ASAs?
Yeah, all of the ASAs, all the use stats. The I dabbled in IBO last year. I haven't done it since I was little.
I remember that, and I
Yeah,
remember it going pretty well.
it did, which I mean people are gonna hate me for saying this, but I did not practice judging at all. Like I just showed up to the tournaments and judged and it went well.
And you mentioned earlier you used to shoot a little bit of unknown.
So growing up, that was the main thing I did
Mhm.
was doing the IBO shooting. and judging. So I did grow up doing it.
Okay.
I mean, that was like a 30-yard max, so it's not
Okay,
as
so you're
hard.
not like a total stranger to the unknown game.
No, no, I'm not.
Okay.
So I'm undecided whether or not I'm going to do them again this year. Um, the hard part is, judging is a whole nother practice that you have to add in. I mean, there's a lot of time. And
Yes.
like I said, I was able to go and perform decent. I podiumed at one and made like the shoot off at Worlds without practicing,
Hmm.
but to actually be up on the podium every time and be able to win, you need to have the time to practice that skill.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not exactly a skill I find fun. I honestly go more into shooting my bow right and trying to perfect that more than trying to
I
perfect
understand that. I've
judging.
always been like that too.
Yeah, yeah. The only reason I went was one, like honestly, they're pretty inexpensive for me. They're close to home. And I was like, yeah, I might as well go do one for the fun of it and see how it goes. And it went well, but it's not like this I have to do type thing. If I have the time to practice
Yeah.
judging, then great, I'll do them. But if I don't, I'm probably just going to continue and focus on the known stuff, making, like I said, trying to perfect my shot better, trying to get better at the U stats in the indoor game and that kind of thing. But yeah, we'll see.
That's fair. So yeah, ASAs, just to recap, you're doing ASAs, all the USATs,
Yeah, yeah,
all the USAT IBOs if you can fit in any or if they kind of make sense.
right, yeah.
And then what about ones?
So NFA I'll be doing Reading, um,
Hmm.
the field nationals. I'm trying to think if there's any outdoor NFAs that I do. Obviously, like there's the indoor shoots that we talked about, but
Yeah. Then there's, I mean, the Dakota Classic is indoors, but then there's NFA Outdoor Nationals
right, which
on
that's
the big
currently not.
targets.
Yeah, that's currently not in my on my plan is the NFA. I am gonna do the USA Target Outdoor Nationals, but not the NFA right now. I tend to do this
No.
thing too, where I add shoots on later in the year. I'm like, oh, I'm having fun going to shoots. Maybe I'll
I,
go to this one
yeah.
too. Yeah,
I think we all do that, we're like, we get to it and we're like, no, I kind of want to shoot that. Let's go,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. I wasn't planning on Rushmore this year,
Hmm.
and I haven't shot in a few years. The main thing is I go on like a family vacation with my boyfriend the week before when we're gone for a week, and I don't
Hmm.
get to practice. But then I randomly this year was like, oh, I'll come in time, home in time, and practice for 3 or 4 days before it, and it'd be good to
It's fine. It'll be good.
yeah, yeah. See, I already added that shoot on.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah,
Let's see. And for outdoors, apart from all of those, I'm not going to do any IBOs, but I will be adding, some World Cups, and I also have a European Championship. So I think it's 4 World Cups, 3 World Cups, because I'm probably not going to do the one in Shanghai, and then European Championship, which they're all a week long. So that adds quite a bit more travel and being away from home and just all that stuff.
yeah. Do any of those like line up right in a row with another shoot where you're gonna have to like go from one shoot straight to the next?
It is definitely going to be a little bit tricky sometimes where I'm going to have a, only a couple days to either, go from Target and then 3D setup or whatever. But the last couple years, there's always been a mix up of it's hidden ASA or other things, and I haven't been able to go to one of them. And this year, somehow, the World Cups and ASAs are lining up. I'm sure there will be other events that maybe I'll miss some USATs here and there, but for now, they actually look like I'll be able to make it all work.
Oh, that's
Hopefully.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. Someone came to visit.
Oh,
Hi, buddy. Did you bring me a water? It's really sweet.
yeah.
Do you want to say hi to everyone?
Hi, Thor.
Yeah. Cool. You want to go see Dad? You want to go talk to Dad? Come on. Come on, Thor. That's going to happen when you have kids.
At least we got a little insight into what your practices are probably like now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's chaotic, but, it's, and I think that's, not to change the subject totally, but that's been like one of the hardest things about becoming a parent, you never have any, like, your own time that you used to have before and where you could just do things and do them at your own pace. You don't have any of that anymore. It's just and it's he's almost a year and a half and I still haven't fully gotten used to it. So it's um at that point where I'm contemplating, do I get up at 5 a.m. so I can have a couple hours before he wakes up to go shoot, just because it's for everyone who saw my video I posted the other day, it's so hard to shoot with him. Like, I love having him there, but he loves touching everything. And most of whatever is on the range, it's not my stuff. And if he touches it, it's going to end up somewhere and I don't know where that's going to end up. And everything's just going to disappear. And half of it he wants to eat or chew on, and that's not super sanitary, or it's just
Yeah,
chaos.
I have nephews and I get little spurts of what you experience, obviously not as much as you do. But like once in a
Hmm.
while, like they'll come and watch me shoot and one of them, Noah, is the one that's particularly crazy. I mean, I'll be at full draw and he'll be screaming, shoot, shoot. So like just a little, yeah, I was like almost gonna be target panic. Yeah. So the little like,
It's so cute, but
yeah,
also hard.
yeah, it's in my head. I'm always like, okay, this is good distraction practice, but I couldn't imagine it every single time I go practice. Like, that's gotta be tough.
It is tough. And, sometimes I have some good friends that, will watch them for 30 minutes so I can just, at least get some quality arrows in. And, Braden does work full time, so he's not always able to watch him during the day. Like, sometimes if they have like a quiet time of day or something, I'll be able to hand him off for a little bit. But, I can't just be like, hey, can you watch him for 2 hours because I have to, I have to go shoot. So you kind of just have to go with the flow. And during the summer, when I could shoot out in the backyard, it was easier because if I was able to put him down for a nap or anything, I could go shoot for a little bit and have a little bit of time where he was napping to just shoot my bow. But I don't have an indoor range. And so I do have to go somewhere, so I can't leave him at home napping. You just keep sleeping and I'll see you in like an hour and a half.
You just gotta get one of
I
those,
know.
like there's things I've seen where they put over the cribs that's like a tent to like keep them in the crib. They can't get out, and nothing's gonna happen.
I'm honestly contemplating sometimes putting up like a crib in Braden's office and like put like a dark tent over it like you talked about, but then I'm like, he could sleep in Braden's office if it wasn't too loud, and I'd just be in the room next door with the baby monitor and stuff. But again, it's a workplace and there are people coming in and out and machines going, and so it's just it never really worked out, but
Yeah,
I'll figure it out.
but you're still doing good with him, so we're all
Yeah.
impressed.
I try. Let's see. But are you able to practice at your parents' shop, or do you have somewhere at home that you can shoot, or how does that work for you?
So, for indoors, right now it's at the shop, which I only live 10 minutes away, so it's not a big deal.
No, that's easy.
Yeah, we are building a house right now, and
That's super exciting.
yeah, very excited. I can't wait. It's anyone that's ever built a house, I think will understand it sounds exciting. It is exciting, but the process of building a house is a lot.
I've only heard from people who are building and they say it's so stressful.
It is like you think like it's gonna be fun, like oh we picked this and this out, and like which there is fun parts, but there's also a lot of stressful parts.
Yes, I can only imagine.
Yeah, but one of my main things with building the house was I want to be, especially because will be living further away from the shop.
Hmm.
So it was I want to be able to shoot indoors in my house. Our basement is not 20 yards long, which found extra foundation gets expensive. So we
Hmm.
actually have put a big hole in our foundation and are going to be having
Hmm.
culvert tubes, big culvert tube running down,
Hmm.
40 foot of it. And I will be running a target on like a garage door track, and have
Hmm.
lighting down there. So like I'll have this like thing where I can, shoot through my wall into this tube with my target. And I just press the button and the target comes back and like so yeah.
But that's such a cool solution to trying to figure out how to you know, put it into your home without adding, I don't know how many, tens of thousands of extra dollars you would have to spend to
Yeah,
add on.
ex exactly. It was and I can't take credit for it. But there was I can't remember the guy's name, but Matthews had posted.
Mhm.
They posted this years ago of someone doing something like this, and I saved it because I always thought like, oh, if I ever have a house I can't build in or shoot in, this is what we're gonna
Mm.
do. And it came back up, and I'm like, well, perfect. Yeah, I'm pretty excited for that. I think even though I mean, a 10-minute drive is nothing to go shoot, but I really do like practicing, taking a break, getting other things done, and then going
Mhm.
and practicing some more. So I am excited to be able to do that right at home so I can do some practice, do some work, and then go back to practicing instead of having to drive back
Yeah.
and forth every time.
Having or being able to practice at your own house, I think is the ultimate setup, and I think it's what every archer wants, that you can just hi cat. You can just go out in your backyard or your basement and shoot your bow. And if you want to break, you take a quick break, but it's so easy to go back to it, without driving back and forth or anything.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, especially like sometimes after dinner, there'll be evenings where I'm like, I would really like to shoot, even if it's just 30 arrows, 30 more arrows right now. But it's like, do I want to pack up and drive and go shoot and then come back late after dinner? Like if it's just down in the basement, it would be so
Yes,
much easier.
for sure. I know for me, it's always been the dream, being able to shoot at home, having it be so much easier. When I was a kid, I used to practice. Practice wasn't close, and I had to find my own way. And I didn't have a license or a car or anything, so I had to bike to archery. Sometimes with my bow on my back,
I
like
was
imagine a
about
bow
to
case
ask.
on your back. Yep, with my bow case on my back on my bike, and it was usually around 7 kilometers, which is, are you good at kilometers, the miles?
um, So I know a 5K is 3 miles, roughly.
Yeah. So it's probably 4 to 5 miles,
Yeah,
which isn't too bad at all. But on a bike with a bow case on your back, it feels pretty far.
yeah, yeah.
And and people forget about, you know, the things where you have to be on this bike even when it's snowing or raining or it's freezing outside or you just don't want to go to shoot, you have to bike. And
Yeah.
it's yeah.
Do you feel that like the accessibility for people practicing and shooting is any different in Denmark versus the States at all?
Think just in general, it's more normal to have cars here and just drive to everything and your parents drive you because that's how it is and everything's most of, after school activity or sports are after school or after work so parents have time to, grab the kids and bring them to these events where in Denmark or where I grew up, a lot of them was before your parents got off work. So even if your parents could drive you, they hadn't come home yet, so you still had to figure it out. So I think just because it's so much more normal here that your parents drive you, I think it's easier, but I don't know if that matters when we're talking, attendance and everything because it's just so that's the norm here. Yeah. And that's the norm in Denmark, it's just what you do.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, that's I don't know. It's just such a different experience growing up in Denmark and living in Denmark compared to now and how I live here in the US. I live really close to my indoor range at gas bowstrings. It's like 45 minutes driving in the car. If anything was that close in Denmark, I would be biking. But I'm gonna be honest, I would be really scared for my life if I were to bike there.
Yeah, it's definitely not
I don't,
the norm. Like for here, I feel like if you're biking, it's a recreational thing. It's not a
yes.
means of, traveling. It's just for fun or for fitness or something like that.
I I think that's exactly, and I don't think biking is fun. For me, it's a necessity.
I actually I got into biking this last year.
You
Nothing
did?
like yeah, like nothing huge. Like I literally went to Walmart and bought my pink little grandma bike. And I
Oh.
right now I live in like a really cute little village and I see people
Mhm.
biking all the time and I found like I'm gonna get myself a bike. and just bike around. And I do remember my nephew had a soccer game close by. So like I was like, oh, I'll just ride my bike there. And I did, and everyone picks on me for it because it's not like a traditional thing of like traveling. Like it's like they were like, why do you ride your bike? I'm like, I don't know, I
I
just wanted to.
I think it's cool. I think
Yeah,
it's very cool,
thank
and
you.
it's super healthy for you.
Yeah, that was one of the main things. Like I said, I saw all these people doing it, and in my head, like this is to
Hmm.
me a fun way of exercising and just getting that like cardio done and stuff. Yeah.
And I think not to get too off track here, so I'll say it quick, but like for me, whenever I lived in Denmark and I biked everywhere, I'd bike to work, I'd bike to school, then I'd bike to archery and bike to my friend's house, and that was your means of transportation. It was super easy to stay fit. Or, I could eat anything and everything. I mean, I was also pretty young, but no matter what, I always stayed active. And it's hard to get in the same amount of exercise here in the US because you just don't, you know, you get in your car and you sit and,
Yeah,
it's
no,
hard.
I 100% like understand what you're saying. Like I had for myself last winter and fall, I actually lost a lot of weight just being more active because like the year before I would like look at shoot off pictures of myself and be like, wow, like I'm starting to gain some weight. And it's like that simple, like you said, it's simple here. I feel like it's easy to
Hmm.
start getting unhealthy and then like even just like picking up walking or biking or something like that, like it makes such a huge difference and it only takes, an hour of your day maybe, but yeah,
Yes, it makes such a huge difference. It really, really does.
yeah,
Just to add, like, if you say a little bit a day, even if you work remote, even if you walk for 30 minutes while you write some emails or anything like that, or you get one of those, teeny tiny treadmills that push under your couch. So you can, when you sit on the couch at night and you watch Netflix for 2 hours, 30 minutes of those, you could walk, and just add a couple extra steps.
yeah, exactly. And I think it's good. I mean, I think archery, we're not the most healthiest as far as athletes go.
We probably have a little bit of ways to go.
Yeah, yeah. But like I feel like your body performs well when it's healthy. So just that little extra step of cardio, I think is good for us.
Yes, and I can always tell that it really, really does help, you
Hmm.
know, for those high pressure situations. It's so important.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get too far off topic and everything, I wanted to ask you about what your plans are for archery in the future. Where do you see yourself in, let's say, 10 years?
So I want to be shooting still. There is the hard part with like, I mean, you mentioned how it's harder with four now. I do want to have kids eventually. So like that is something
Do you
that
see
needs,
yourself continuing once you have kids?
that's the hard thing that I'm trying to figure out. I'm not ready to have kids yet. So it's a thing to think
Hmm.
about in the future. But it's figuring out if I do, how it's going to work. I don't see myself
Hmm.
doing as much. I might have to like cut back and stuff like that. But the big thing I think you mentioned before is having the babysitters to watch them and having
Yeah,
people that will travel with you and stuff like that. It's a whole, they say you need a village to raise a kid kind of thing.
and you really do.
Yeah, yeah. So like that's the hard part is, that's going to be something that I think at the time we'll figure out, is this something that's doable or not? I hope it is.
I think that's really the only way to go about it is like you can plan and you can have ideas, but you won't know until you know what kind of baby you get. Like maybe you end up with a kid that, absolutely hated and it would be so hard to keep track of them or control them or just do it with them, you know.
Yeah.
I
And
think you just kind of,
I feel like too, like this last year, like I'm starting to work a little bit more harder and actually do more. Like I said, I added on these apps doing beta stuff, and I know right now, like, okay, I don't have kids. Like now is the time to like actually expand and do more things. So by the time when I am ready to have kids, it's gonna be like, okay, I tried, I made the experiences that I wanted to make. Hopefully, I reached the goals that I wanted to reach. Like this might be now the time where I get to do the family things. We'll see.
and
We'll
I
see
think
when
that's
it's
a good
there.
way to look at it, It's like you have the time, why not do it? Like you may not know what you're doing at every event, if you're jumping into something new, but you might as well start and just do it. Yeah. And so I think my what I was do you have any big goals or any specific scores you want to shoot or like anywhere you want to get to where I'm like this right here, this is what I want.
Yeah, so and it changes for depending on what style shooting wise. For indoors, one of my big things is like I can practice pretty good at home. Like, indoors is not bad at home, but going to tournaments has always been a struggle for me. It's a whole mental thing. So
Hmm.
indoor is like one of my main goals for this year at least, is like seeing that my practice scores are also going to be my tournament scores. It's going to be the same from one to the other. So that's kind of the goal I'm trying to reach there. For 3D, that's the one where I feel the most confident in, that I've done the most in, and like,
Hmm.
well, actually, like I think I've said, think of me as a 3D shooter. So, the whole shooter of the year kind of thing, like that would be a really cool goal. I want to achieve that. And then for the USAT stuff, last year I did reach my goals last year. It was the first year I did it. And like the very first one was awful. Like, it's like, what did I do? But like, I stuck with it. I kept practicing, and each one got a little better and better. And I did get the
Hmm.
700. Went over 700 for qualification, so that was like a big goal, was that score.
Which is awesome. Making it over 700 is really hard, so that's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I was so pumped. Like that was the big thing for me. And then
Mhm.
along with that, with the matches, I got to a medal match, which that was like another goal, was to get there. So then for this year now, the goal is I would like to make the USA team and start doing more of these traveling outside of the States and like doing that kind of competing stuff. It's going to be not only make a medal match, but actually win medals. I'd like to keep on reaching that 700 score, and maybe a little higher. I think 703 was what I got. So if I got up even to like the 710, like that would be super cool. But I kind of like to do like the whole baby step kind of thing. Like these are the little goals,
Mhm.
and then this is the big goals I'm hoping for later.
And that's a good way to look at it. Like, you do have big goals, but it's smart to have little steps so you can achieve along the way so it doesn't feel so unattainable.
Right, yeah. So have your goals changed since stores come along, or is it kind of still the same for you, or?
It's kind of still the same. I still have scores I want to shoot like you. Indoor, my high score is 596, but I would love you know, to raise that. I don't think I'm going to shoot 600 necessarily, but there are still 3 or 4 more points that I could improve. And outdoors, there's a whole lot more. And I think it's one of those in archery where even though you had an amazing day and you're shooting really good, and maybe you won the whole thing, most of the time you're gonna walk off and you're like, oh, but there was that one arrow, those 2 arrows where like I still want to do like a little bit better.
Mhm.
It's like even if you have a good shoot down, there's probably one arrow that still haunts you in the shoot down.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like we always kind of like you're saying, is, the stuff that goes bad. I feel like we feel so much more than the stuff that
I
goes
think we
good. Yeah, like
Yes,
something
so
goes
much. It just
good, something goes good, and like you feel great for maybe a day or whatever. But something goes bad, and you're feeling like crap about it for a
yes, you
prolonged
you
time.
remember it, you remember it forever, and you're like, oh, I can't believe I did that.
Hmm.
But I also think it's one of those things that help you to get better because you're like, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to end up in that situation again. So how do I prevent it? How do I fix this?
Right.
And I think that's one of the most important things to improving in any sport, really. But on that topic, do you want to go over your indoor setup right now? Just what bow you're shooting and
Yeah.
which arrows you're planning to shoot for this indoor season?
Yeah. So I mean, everything obviously can always change. We play around with stuff and make up changes and
Yes.
stuff like that. But I am now shooting for Matthews for my first year ever, so I'm super excited for that. Um,
Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a big change, but very exciting change. So I'll be
Such a
shooting the
cool
title
change.
30. Yeah, I'll be shooting the title 36 right now, and I have
Mm-hmm.
Easton arrows, the X23s aluminums. I have my true ball sight. I have my Excel sight and true ball release. I'm shooting the goat
We all know
release.
what you.
Yeah, one of those. The most do I have on my bum? Shrewd bars, shrewd scope, X focus lens. Trying to think if I forgot anybody. Got my elevation quiver. Yeah.
And so these arrows in this setup. Do you usually set it up yourself? Do you have help, or like what's your process for setting up your bow at the
So
beginning of any season?
yeah, so the majority of the time I'm setting it up, but I definitely ask for help. Like I said, we have the shot. My brother's very experienced. Competitively shoots as well. So I try setting up things on my own, but here and there I might have them be like, hey, what do you think of this? Especially, when it's a new bow to me, the Matthews is a new bow to me, so asking his opinion
Yeah.
on it, like, okay, setting up a little bit different. I will definitely take his help. I will take anybody's help. I will always listen to people. I might not do what they tell me, but I'll always at least listen
Mm.
and like think like, okay, maybe, maybe, yeah. Um, but yeah, for the most part, I set my goals up, and I usually have him do like, especially if I have something going wrong, is when I ask for the help. Like, okay, this isn't working out. What do you think I should do?
Yeah, I think for me, like you said, I try to do as much of it as I can, but I'm not afraid to admit that once in a while I do forget how to do something, or I'm like, is it like this or like that? So I do get help from Braden sometimes, or I'm like, you know, how is it that I do this again? And it's just, I don't know, I feel like for me in archery, there's so much knowledge, and sometimes I forget some of it. Even though I've been in the sport for so long, sometimes it's hard for me to keep all of it in there.
Yeah, yeah. I actually am starting this new thing where like I'm gonna start like taking notes. Like, okay, this is exactly what I did to this bow. So setting up the next
Yes.
one, I can go back and look like, okay, this is exactly what I did, so I can get it at least started how I did that.
And I definitely do that sometimes too, and other times I completely forget. But also, I've done that, and then when I try to set them up the exact same way, I don't like that anymore because I've changed. So I find it so hard to always try to do a repeat setup. Or sometimes if I had an amazing indoor bow and I'm like, I'm not gonna touch this until next indoor season, and then I shoot it next indoor season, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And yeah, I find it so hard because you change so much during a season, or even just sometimes when you shoot a different event, like we'll shoot a 3D event and then go to a target event. The bows are so different. Even if it's the exact same bow, it's hard sometimes to switch it up.
Yeah, and I think too, like for indoor to 3D, like I usually like to do a different poundage, a little heavier for outdoor versus indoor.
Hmm.
I hate the feeling of going from heavy poundage to light poundage. So, you know how I set up my outdoor 3D bow at the beginning of the season might be a little
Hmm.
different than how I'm going to have it set up for later this season, because the beginning of the season, I might want it to feel a little more like my indoor bow. So going back and forth, it's
Hmm.
not going to be like feeling like crap from shoot to shoot. It's be consistent. And I'm like, okay, now that it's only outdoor, let me make sure that it's 100% just for outdoor.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned, shooting different poundages depending on indoor, outdoor, or whatever. And I sometimes, for me, I'll shoot higher poundage for 3D,
Hmm.
just to get a little more speed. And I don't shoot as many arrows. A target event could be 90 to 120 arrows a day, where target is, or sorry, 3D is 20 arrows.
Right.
So, yeah, so that makes it kind of difficult sometimes too.
Right.
But yeah,
I think that's pretty much everything we have to
yeah,
go over.
I think so. I think that was all the questions I had for the first podcast.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Hope to see you soon on our next ones.
Bye.
Bye.